Welcome to Jelly Trumpet!
Every woman, every man, join the caravan of love. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Everybody take a stand.
What are you doing, Jim?
You know how much I love music.
As I do, being a musician and all, but that's not it.
I wanted to write an anthem for Jelly Trumpet, something the listeners would join in with. We need one if we're going to be the world's only comedy podcast about creativity. What are you doing?
It's an experiment.
What experiment now?
I'm hoping to end conspiracy theories on Facebook using logic, reasoning, common sense, and a taser.
That's nice. I'm thinking with this anthem we'll be as rich as a Kardashian by New Year, only we'll have helped people.
That's nice.
At this point, we need a singer. Do you know someone that can really sing, Mr. B?
Okay.
Do you know one?
I know JB. He sings in the band We Paint Houses.
Can you call him?
JB!
I meant on the phone.
There's no need.
Eh?
He's in the cupboard under my mixing desk.
Well, I never.
No sudden movements, you'll startle him. Then we'll have to sing the woof, woof, woof meow song.
What's that?
Rice Krispies to lure JB out of the cupboard.
Does it always work?
Mostly anything milk-based.
Does he do anything else?
Does he do anything else apart from sing?
Yes.
Well, he paints houses.
JB, JB, paint me like one of your French houses.
Later, after his Horlicks, JB, good boy, sing. Every woman, every man, join the caravan of love.
Every woman, every man, join the caravan of love.
That's nice. Should we start the podcast?
Certainly, Mr. Jim.
Welcome to Jelly Trumpet, the world's only comedy podcast about creativity. The only one. Jelly Trumpet makes you more creative with tips, tricks and ideas for expanding your imagination. Especially good for business people wanting to be creative online. In this episode, a checklist for being more creative called The 9 Trumpets of Creativity. Our second trumpet is Adapt, all about how to adapt your current thinking. Challenge at Home, a creative exercise for you to try at home. And Challenge Jim, where Mr. B challenges Jim with an exercise in creativity. Plus, a brand new micro sitcom called The Startup, with our hero Mary, the entrepreneur, starring in an episode titled The Logo Designer. Part 1, Part 2 later. And our very special guest will take part in Interview Countdown. 12 questions in 12 minutes. 9 Trumpets of Creativity. Our second trumpet is Adapt.
This season on Jelly Trumpet, we're talking about the 9 Trumpets of Creativity. It's a list of 9 different ways of being more creative. Last episode, we talked about the first trumpet, put to other uses. This episode, Trumpet 2, Adapt, a simple word with a lot of creative juice. There's a PDF of all the 9 Trumpets of Creativity, which you can download from the Jelly Trumpet website. We adapted this list of creative tools from Osborne's checklist, also known as Scamper. Why have we adapted it? Well, that's what Trumpet 2 is all about. Creative people say boo to the accepted and adapt useful things for their own use. If you listen to Season 1, you'll remember we talked a lot about keeping a journal of what helps you creatively. We called this journal Your Medicine. The idea is to build up your own armoury of things that work for you creatively. The journal acting like your personal coach. So here we go with number 2 in our 9 Trumpets of Creativity. Adapt. Oh, that reminds me, I must buy a stamp. A great joke from the super sharp Jimmy Tarbuck on seeing the Queen in her box on the Royal Variety Show. He saw the Queen, he saw her as a stamp. Nice bit of adaptation there. For business, say in digital marketing, you can adapt something of value from one website traffic channel to another. For example, Google Ads give a lot of data. The analytics will tell you which keyword phrase triggered an ad and if it led to a sale. So it's very easy to adapt that valuable keyword phrase, adapt the phrase by creating other content, an article, a video with a transcript, an image, an infographic that will attract non-paid traffic and convince the visitor to buy. Reboots. We all have our own favourite reboots of movie franchises and TV programmes. Essentially, that's adapting. It seems easy, but is it? You know when you see an old favourite movie made from a book you love and the writers miss the point of the piece? You can reboot and rewrite history or literature for the screen. Bring it and use that piece to promote diversity, for example. Check out The Personal History of David Copperfield, directed by Armando Iannucci. It's a show, not tell movie. The characters are diverse because they're people and people are different. The takeaway. Look at your idea, thing, art, marketing campaign and ask yourself, can I adapt this to something else to make something new or better? Have you put JB back in the cupboard?
Yes, with a box of milky lollies.
We've got to put her back.
I've got quite attached to her.
Mr. B, it simply isn't done to obtain Queen Eleanor of Aquitaine from 12th century France and keep her. I mean, you're in charge of the technical aspects of this podcast, and moving it through time, space and media wasn't originally planned, was it?
Every woman, every man, join the caravan.
Not now, JB.
Do you remember which buttons you pushed that took the podcast back in time?
Let me see. I think I fixed it now.
Mr. B, are you sure you fixed that button?
Yes, I've definitely fixed it this time.
We want Normandy in 1150 AD. Then Eleanor can go home and we can get back to St Albans for the podcast. I've a Pilates lesson to get to.
Yes, I've remapped F12 to F1.
Let's do it! Mr. B, that's a Formula One Grand Prix, but oh no.
What?
Look out the front window. You've landed us next to the F1 grid at Silverstone.
Is that Lewis?
Yes it is. Go on, Lewis.
You don't do Pilates.
I've written that in the script so everyone thinks I'm cool and healthy. Mr. B.
Sorry, I meant to map F12 to F2.
Press it then.
Won't be a moment.
That's the Formula 2 support race.
I'll just add some more steam.
Is that the sound of a volcano venting?
It would appear so.
St Albans, Mr. B, doesn't have a volcano. How?
It's the keyboard. It had coffee spilt on it.
Coffee. Right, while you sort that out, we'll get on with the podcast.
Challenge at home.
This is an exercise to help writers. Anyone can benefit, but I warn you, this is hardcore. It will take persistence, well, sheer bloody mindedness, for it to be a success. It's about challenging the editor in your head. You know, that voice that tells you that you cannot write. The exercise is called making an appointment to write. So decide on a time when you won't be disturbed. Sit yourself down with some cheap lined paper and a pen. The exact second the clock ticks over to the time you agreed with yourself, you start writing. Sounds easy, doesn't it? Not many people can do it. Start off with 10 minutes. Your pen cannot leave the paper unless you are turning to a new page. The takeaway, this exercise teaches you that you can write at the time you want to. It's writing on demand. A warning, you're going to write absolute tosh. You're going to write the same word again and again. It might well be a rude word. I did this exercise for weeks. I was so angry at one point that the pen was pushed right through the paper. Every so often, a phrase would be written that was beautiful, but mostly it was rubbish. Why did I pursue this exercise? If I remember correctly, I was doing it for an hour at one point. I wanted to impose on myself to write creatively at will. You know what? It was brutal. No other word for it, but it helped me. Now, 90% of the time when I sit down to write, I write. If you are mentally fragile, don't do this exercise. Please don't. It is intense and it will connect you with many feelings, some of them not your best. So use the exercise and build up slowly. Take stock of how you feel. If you encounter any negativity, stop. You can try to get over this negativity by using an exercise called the sweetheart. With this exercise, you write for 10 minutes all the good things about yourself, what people have said or written about you. It makes a good balance if the exercise has brought up any self-doubt. So, if you're serious about writing, try it. Brilliant, Mr. B. Now we appear to have landed Jelly Trumpet in a spaceship.
Why don't you write us back to St Albans?
Oh, good point. Well, then it wouldn't be Jelly Trumpet, would it?
Fair point.
There's two people in here. What is this thing? It's a road podcast established on Earth as a medium for people with time on their hands. They reached their zenith just after the third fall of the Trump Empire. What do we do with it, Clayton? First of all, sir, we don't tell Cat. You know what he'll do with them, especially the bald one with glasses.
Hi, Lister!
He knows who I am, don't you, sir?
Sorry about this. Trouble with the buttons on the keyboard.
Oh, great. Landing us in a sitcom now, are we? Red Dwarf, medieval France. Easy to mix up, I suppose.
Not
now, Eleanor. Mr. B, put the Micro Sitcom on. We'll come back to this.
The Startup, a Micro Sitcom. Meet Mary, the entrepreneur going about creating a new business online. In this episode, Mary briefs a logo designer. The scene, the office of a respected graphic design agency.
Mary, this is Marvin, the logo designer. He's only had the one coffee. Let's keep it that way.
Oh, thank you, Adam. Hi, Marvin.
Hi, lovely to meet you. Really exciting, really pleased, really happy. I've started the brief. Was great. I love designing logos, you know.
Great.
I think Murder Cake is a great brand. Really brilliant. Love it.
Oh, thank you, Marvin. Murder Cake, as you know, is for bodybuilders who could murder a cake. The cake mix is packed with protein powder and comes in many flavours, including liver. It's my startup, and I'm very proud of it.
I think you might like this idea.
What's that?
That's a Glock G23 compact 40 caliber automatic shooting a Victoria sponge.
Is that blood?
Raspberry jam. I could make the jam strawberry.
Well, anything else you could show me?
There's this one. I like this one. This one is cool.
Is that an axe?
An Anglo-Saxon bearded axe cutting through a 3-tiered wedding cake.
Is that blood?
Red cherry coulis with a hint of kirsch.
Any others?
Just this one. Lead piping, smashing a red velvet cake. That's just food colouring.
Well, Marvin, very, very, very inventive. But I kind of had something else in mind.
Shoot! I mean, yeah, OK. Let me have it. Do you want some coffee? I like coffee. I can do you a little Americano with hot milk on the side.
Oh, not just now. What I had in mind was something...
Do you mind if I have another coffee?
Well, yes.
End of part 1. Part 2 of the Startup later. Creative rituals.
In Season 2, we're highlighting a book that is full of short essays on creative types and the rituals they perform. This book is called Daily Rituals by Mason Curry. In this episode, Igor Stravinsky, composer, a complete contrast to the hedonist Francis Bacon, who we talked about in the last episode. Stravinsky started his day with physical exercise. Then he would work from 9 to 1. He'd compose for only 3 hours a day, as he thought this is all he could manage. He worked in solitude, explaining, "I have never been able to compose unless sure that no one could hear me. Is that you? Do you need solitude?" He says he worked even if he felt no inspiration, and when he felt blocked, he would do a headstand. The takeaway. Do you have any rituals to get you in the mood for creating? How do you induce the best possible state to be creative? Have you a way to overcome blocks? Think about your rituals and how they affect your work.
Coming up, interview countdown. Challenge Jim. Mr. B will issue Jim a challenge. And List of the Week. Sponsored by Conversion Detectives, the really creative digital marketing agency. Search Conversion Detectives.
I don't believe it. We're in Red Dwarf, one of my favourite sitcoms.
Well, that's lovely. I'd have preferred Fleabag.
Hi, Lister.
Hi, are you staying long? Only your podcast is on my foot.
Can't stay long. Have to get back to medieval France before Jim writes himself a personal trainer and a six-pack.
That's Crichton.
Look, here comes Rimmer.
Step up to red alert. Sir, are you absolutely sure it does mean changing the ball? This podcast is on my foot. Typical Not the first time you've been stumped.
For goodness sake, Mr. B, press a button, any button.
Have to go. Nice meeting you.
Onward!
Interview countdown.
So welcome to the latest episode of Jelly Trumpet. Our guest today is Mark Walmsley, the founder of the Arts and Culture Network. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to go into 12 questions in 12 minutes. So Mark, lovely to have you. Here we go with the first question. What is your business?
Thank you very much, Jim. I've been excited about joining you for this for a long time. Thank you. My business is the Arts and Culture Network. It's a community, a global growing community of professionals shaping the future of our industry together. We have 13,000 members as of this week in our LinkedIn group, and a growing core community, which is where we carry on the conversations and explore opportunities for collaboration between our events. But at the heart of our network is a series of random speed networking events where we all get to meet 9 or more people in a series of 5-minute one-to-ones at random in under an hour from all over the world without having to dress from the waist down.
I like that, and I've attended 3 of them so far, and I love them. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful idea. Now, going on to question 2, who is your creative hero or heroine?
So this was a tricky one. I feel like I'm on desert island discs because I had to use the process of elimination. But I think the single person who's influenced my thinking and creativity would have to be Seth Godin. I used to run Seth's London meetups, so I had the pleasure of meeting him on a number of occasions, and a big fan of the books. Purple Cow, you know, if you're not different, you're invisible. And his concept of what I've described as minimalist marketing, find your smallest viable audience and become the best option for it, has influenced my thinking, certainly. So Seth Godin and Scott Ginsberg as well, who left his badge on at a conference. Everyone came up to talk to him and tell him that he'd left his badge on, so he left it on for 14 years.
I didn't know that one. That's a great story. Well, that's 2 interesting people that we know in marketing because we're marketeers. That's lovely. Thank you very much, Mark. Now, this one, question 3. How do you go about starting a creative project?
Again, I'm afraid I have to confess I'm not one of life's completer finishers. I'm a starter, which is probably just as well as I'm in the creative industries. But for me, you can't go further back than a good idea. So my brain seems to work best first thing in the morning when it's stretching after a night of rest. So often those ideas for projects come in the morning, but it's a challenge because there are lots of things that I've thought of and wanted to do that haven't yet found the time to do. So the challenge for me is developing a project, because I can easily start a project because they drop in. But so it's a kind of brainstorming, helping, speaking to colleagues is really useful.
Well, that leads us on to question 4, which I think we sort of partially answered, but I am always interested to hear what other people say of this. Do you go into any detail? Do you map out where you're going to go and where you're going to end up in any particular creative project?
Yeah, so for example, for the Arts and Culture Network, we have a target of 500 subscribing core community members for this year. And if we can achieve that, that will give us a huge amount to support some of the projects that our members submit for support, because we're collectively philanthropic in that respect. But yeah, I guess if this was a needle and I had to go to the left or the right, I probably am afraid flying by the seat of my pants more than having it down to the nth degree in any detail. And quite often it needs to be able to, those ideas sometimes need to be able to go off piste. So I kind of let it flow.
I like that. I mean, it makes me think of, what a true creative is like that, is that they have this great capacity to create, but not necessarily control. You might need a collaborator that does more of that sort of logical side, is what I always think. So again, this sort of leads on to, you must have this at some point, surely. You maybe not, but how do you know when your project is finished?
So I guess this is different for the two entities that I'm involved with. So the Arts and Culture Network is a series of small projects. You've been to 3 of them. They're effectively the chapters of our book, which are the random speed networking events and our speed showcase events. I do relax and sigh with relief at the end of those. They're always great fun, but it's always a challenge making sure that we've got a good number of people there and some great speakers at those events. So we know that project is finished when I end the meeting. With Chuffed, I have Alison. Alison is our operations partner at Chuffed, which is a creative social enterprise working for arts and culture organisations. And she will tell me when a project is finished.
So that, having the helpmate, I think, is vital for some of us. Some of us try and learn it. I think I'm getting better, but for our listeners, that's something that they have to look into. Now, this is a more sort of internal question, which always fascinates me. Are you honest with yourself?
I'll lie.
We all do.
I'll lie and say yes. I struggled with this. I didn't know whether I don't know is the answer.
You don't know.
I'm not particularly. I do consider myself blessed not to be too intelligent, because if I was more intelligent than I am, like Stephen Fry, for example, I would find an awful lot more boring than I currently do. I have this capacity to get enthusiastic about things that many other people might find less so. So in that respect, I guess I'm supremely honest in that I'm reacting to ideas and suggestions and comments from the heart. It doesn't get filtered, but you can only do it if you're not particularly intelligent, which I'm blessed to be not particularly intelligent.
I think you are honest. I think you really are honest to answer it in that way. Thank you for that. So this is always good. What's the proudest you've ever been of one of your ideas?
I think most recently it will be the Arts and Culture Network, when one of our members was hired almost on the spot at one of our meetings. And it could not have happened had I not started this community. So a lovely guy called Alex, I think he's 18 or 19 perhaps, really, really passionate about the arts and culture sector and tourism, and met Alice on one of our calls from Love to Visit. And they're a very exciting startup in the tourist industry. And she hired him the next day. And when I heard about that, I thought, that's why I do this, right? That is absolutely why I do this. So I guess I was particularly pleased, if not proud, at that one. But that makes it all worthwhile.
That's a great thing to have. Very fulfilling when something takes off like your idea has. And I'm glad to be part of it, to be honest with you. So now we move on to what is your next project? I'd
really like to become synonymous with the concept of random speed networking. I love doing it. I seem to be quite comfortable when I'm doing it. My wife Jo has said I couldn't possibly do that, what you do. It would terrify me, the thought of hosting 100 people on Zoom call and keeping everybody in check. But I've been approached actually since we started our events by organisations who'd like me to host similar events for them.
Right.
So both internally and externally. So a chain of dentist practices want me to host an hour of random speed networking for their practice managers once a month. And we've been chatting to the British Council about doing similar events at some of the cultural exchanges that they manage. That's
brilliant. Well, I can vouch for that. There's nothing like landing in a room with 3 people that you've never met before and getting to know them in 5 minutes. It's quite extraordinary and leads to a lot of fun. Question 10. Should creativity be taught as a skill in school?
Absolutely. This might take me longer than 60 seconds. I'll see if I could condense it down. What we've learned through the demise of the empire, if you like, is that we are really good in this country, at least, at having great ideas. There was a saying, wasn't there? The British will invent it, the Americans will sell it, and the Chinese will copy it. And we need to focus on that, right? That's our main skill that we monetize. Look at the music industry's exports. I mean, phenomenal. Our arts and culture. We make more money in the UK from arts and culture than we do from sport. So yeah, and I often used to tell my children, please don't let school get in the way of your education. Yes, absolutely. And you may have met Nick Corsten. He's one of our members. He runs a program, Creativity in Schools program, STEAMco. If you get a chance to have a look, Nick Corsten. He's doing some fantastic work with building creativity in schools. So absolutely, yes, it should.
Yeah, I've let you run on there because I was interested in that, and I will check out Nick Coulson because I think it's very, very important. So this is another one of my favourite questions at number 11. If a 10-year-old asked you, what one thing would make me more creative, what would you reply?
I'm a notorious sleeper. It's one of my favourite things to do. Okay. And I know from my own experience that if I'm having adequate sleep, my brain is more creative. So I'd say get lots of sleep and get up early. Don't be playing GTA until 3 a.m. So sleep would be great. Play and read. Read. I mean, Audible. Listen. Get Blinkist so that you can read lots of books in 15 minutes each. Either read or listen to smart people. And if I was 10, I would be telling people to go and follow Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, right. Okay. I think we all know and people can check up. That's brilliant and succinct. You've done very well there. So it looks like you're going to unlock the bonus question. But first of all, I have to ask you, how can a listener get in touch with you, Mark?
So fortunately, I have a slightly unusual surname. So searching for Mark Walmsley on Google will find me. Walmsley. For the Arts and Culture Network, we're at artsandculturenetwork.com. But again, search for Arts and Culture Network and you will find us. If you're interested in our creative social enterprise, where we nurture emerging talent in its journey from learning to earning, as a branding agency, we're at chuffed.com, CHUFD.com. And we do that. We're a creative social enterprise on a mission, which is why a 17-year-old graphic designer is currently designing a new logo for a £60 million TV company.
Wow. That's absolutely wonderful. I'm really happy about that. Now, you've unlocked the bonus question because you've been so good. And this is one that I always like, and I never know what's going to happen. So the bonus question is, what's something no one knows about you?
Well, if we've got time, I've got 3, which will be fun. I've played the triangle professionally at Carnegie Hall. That's the first one. I can go back on these if you want.
I like it. Yeah.
I've performed a very dangerous stunt dressed as Batman on live TV for Warner Brothers, and I've been the master of ceremonies for the Duke of Edinburgh.
Wow.
So on only one of those occasions was I a last minute stand-in. So I was in the City of Birmingham Symphony Orchestra for 12 years. In the percussion section, so that's how I got to play the triangle. I can stop now. I peaked.
No, you peaked. Oh, well, if you would stop there, because I think that leaves open questions, rather than answers, which is more intriguing and in marketing terms is more engaging, because I'll have to look you up now and find out all about you. So that brings us to the end for our 12 questions in 12 minutes interview with Mark Walmsley. Thank you very much, Mark. It's been enlightening and a lot of fun. And I hope to see you again soon at your next event.
Jim, thank you so much. I've been listening to some of your episodes and they're wonderful. Thank you for inviting me.
I think it's Challenge Me time.
Yes, it's Challenge Jim time.
All is lost. Watch Fox News for the truth. Death to the West.
Not again.
Someone else has hacked the coffee machine now. I mean, we've only just bought this new one.
Smart coffee machine, smart speakers, smart doorbells. Leads to anarchy, Mr. B.
Le diable!
Eleanor has just thrown the new coffee machine out the window.
Et voilà!
Thank you, Eleanor.
I wanted an Americano.
Me too.
This is getting expensive.
Yes, a coffee machine per episode is quite expensive.
Challenge Jim!
Each episode, we challenge Jim with a creative exercise.
I'm ready, Mr. B.
The challenge, Mr. Jim. You have 1 minute to talk about puddles.
Puddles?
Puddles, go!
Puddles are very beautiful. I mean, I like looking out of my office window and seeing a puddle. And
That's a pothole.
No, it's a puddle because it's small and it's round and it's
a
splashable,
pothole filled with rain.
But they are very beautiful and it's a nice thing to say, isn't it? Puddle. Say that to yourself. Puddle.
Puddle.
If you have a bad day, just say puddle or bob.
Puddle.
And then that's great. So what you could do is that you could replace all the fire pits in the country with puddles. And then you could stock them with fish, ducks, the occasional swan.
And a cat?
And no, not with a cat. Not with a cat. We're not doing the drowning cat thing. Cats are nice. They're not evil. And so, or you could put a cat in, but you could give him water wings. Or you could just strap lots and lots of sponges to him and you put the cat in. He soaks up all the water. He comes out and you squeeze him onto your plants.
10 seconds.
So
I'd pay for that on pay-per-view.
You would pay for that? Yeah, I think the cat would be the one that would be paying.
5, 4.
Anyway,
3.
Get a cat.
2.
Get a puddle.
1.
That's it.
Tony's word of the episode.
Tony's word of the episode. Tony's word of the episode.
Otorhinolaryngologist. Otorhinolaryngologist.
Which is someone you see, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, when you've eaten too many cereal crops.
To be honest, Jim, word of the episode isn't working for me.
Well, I'll keep trying. I'm sure I can make it work.
Look! It's raining bacon!
Where?
Tony's word of the episode. Tony's word of the episode.
Everything under control, Mr. B?
This podcast is always under control, Mr. Jim.
Every woman, every man, join the caravan.
Not now, JB.
So, we've escaped Red Dwarf.
Yes, we have.
And the podcast is making its way to medieval France.
Yes.
Where is it then?
We're well on our way,
But
we've stopped off here.
what I see through the studio window, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that Love Island, Mr. B.
Yes, it is.
How are we going to fit in here?
We could pretend we're here to clean the swimming pool.
Look at us, Mr. B.
We could put swimming cozies on and mingle.
We look like we've been groomed by cattle farmers wearing mittens and then dressed ourselves in the dark.
I resent that.
OK, I look like I dressed in the dark. You look like you've been dressed by a sale at DFS.
I'm sure we could merge in.
What do you suggest? Paint ourselves white and pretend to be dental work?
Well...
Get us out of here, Mr. B. Please. If we're found here, the humiliation will be profound and never-ending. I mean, we look like overcooked lamb chops in a vegan smoothie.
Pressing F2, F6, the big button, and pumping the steam now!
Tales from Jim's Medicine Journal. I love Sharon. I'm not sure she's a woman.
The Medicine Journal, or You Are Your Own Medicine, is a way of keeping track of all your creative time. Not the work, but how the work went, what you felt, what worked, tips that work for you. It builds into the creative coaching only you can supply. I still keep my journal and have been going for many, many years. It takes a different form now. I use an app called Evernote. Evernote is great as you can sync to multiple devices as well as an online account. So it's also handy for writing quickly without any fear of losing your work. For the last 3 or 4 projects, I've noticed that I really love list building. For the Micro Sitcom you've been listening to, I had 4 lists: characters, situations, episode ideas, and notes. I finished a trilogy of plays a few months back. They had a lot more notes, 10 in fact, and one of those notes was called lists. My memory's awful, plus I like lots of lists as a playground. I rub ideas together from the different lists. For the 3 plays, there were 22 lists, including the original Magnificent 7 character names and character summation, also a list of chase movies, places and rooms on a cruise ship. Play 3 was set on an upturned cruise liner in the Caribbean during a zombie apocalypse. The 7 deadly sins and iconic visual moments from great action movies. That's just some of the lists I could dip into for character and plot and visual moments and more. I started with around 3 lists and they grew as I worked on the play ideas. I wanted to write a multi-layered play that was character-driven and silly. No one bought the plays. So if you fancy reading them and putting them on, do get in touch. Mr. B, if you wanted to be a superhero, what superpower would you have?
That's easy. My superpower is hindsight.
That's not that useful, is it?
Well, I know that now.
Fantastic! I feel so alone. Our Micro Sitcom, The Startup Part 2. Met with the entrepreneur is at the office of a logo designer.
My concept for this logo, well, my ideas for the logo, revolve around sport and food. You know, Nike meets Ocado.
On it!
I want the logo to say cake, to say murder, well, moderate murder. I want it to look expensive. I want it to look well priced. I want it to sell, to inspire generations. I want it to make you hungry. I want it to sing like a pirate surfing on a Bahamian wave. What's that?
That's the Nike swoosh stabbing the Ocado logo.
Well, let me put it another way. Cake murder is modern and also traditional. It's TikTok meeting Mary Berry.
How about this?
What's that?
The TikTok logo stabbing Mary Berry in the head.
It's a bit graphic. Is that blood?
Jam.
Look, I've drawn up this, and I want it like this, only very pink. Finished?
Yes.
That's it! You've got the pink just right!
It's what you gave me.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Marvin. Have a drink on me.
What's that? What are you putting in my shirt pocket? What have you got there, Marvin? Result! Look what Mary gave me! A Starbucks reward card. Any more coffee, Mr. B?
I'm afraid we're all out of coffee machines.
Where's JB?
I've settled him down with a bowl of cream and a back issue of Q magazine.
What was that?
I think we've run out of juice again.
Well, at least we've escaped Love Island.
That was a close call.
I'm glad we coupled.
Yes, I like coupling.
Brilliant ideas of yours to get us out of there.
Thank you, Mr. Jim.
Better not do it again.
Why?
First, coupling with a floor mop is not edifying, and second, Queen Eleanor doesn't like that sort of thing.
Fair enough, but can I keep the mop?
Oh yes, we'll have plenty of mopping to do as we go on.
Right, medieval France, here we come.
List of the week!
This week, things that cheer me up when I look through my window. Number 1, I have a window. Number 2, people walking. Number 3, people walking dogs. Number 4, small children on scooters. Number 5, a well-shaped puddle. Number 6, a little old lady giving her doggy a treat. Number 7, a family group going for a walk. Number 8, runners in luminous sportswear. Number 9, Christmas when it snows a blizzard of white Amazon delivery vans. Number 10, the fact that I'm indoors, in the warm, and I have a coffee while writing the list of the week. Well, I think this episode's gone very well, Mr. B.
I think so too, Mr. Jim. I particularly like the startup sitcom, the use of JB, Singer in the Cupboard, and of course, being in Love Island, and now I've got a new floor mop.
Oh, have we forgotten something?
Well, Queen Eleanor's still here.
I've sort of got used to her. We could teach her some English, see if she wants to help run the podcast.
Or we could take her back to medieval France and go back to Love Island.
Nah.
Ways of seeing!
Ways of seeing, ways of listening too. The negative spaces. People talk about a comedian's timing. That's a negative space that can be extended at will. These days, filmmakers hide Easter eggs in movies, but they also parody or reference other movies or books or TV shows. How many of your favourite films reference other films? Can you reference something? A visual, a character, an online ad campaign in your own work? People love the familiar. And if you are a new business or creator referencing something the audience knows and loves or hates, that will make your work more memorable.
Jim's work offer!
I mentioned this earlier, the 3 plays. This is a trilogy I wrote. 2 things about the plays. First, each reference a movie theme. The first, a heist. The second, a western. And the third, a disaster movie. Second, the characters. Play 1 is 4 male characters playing bodyguards, who also play the 4 female characters who are in the centre of play 2, the western. The 4 female characters also play the 4 male bodyguards from play 1. Each set of characters also plays minor characters along the way. In play 3, the 2 sets of characters meet. The trilogy is called The Good Heist, The Bad Western and Italian Bob. Email me, jelly@jellytrumpet.com, if you'd like to read the plays and perhaps you'd like to stage them.
Join us in further episodes and be more creative. Pick up tips and tricks you can put in the play instantly. Try exercises to boost your imagination. Listen to creative guests. And a whole lot of what we call fun. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or ideas for Jelly Trumpet, email us jelly@jellytrumpet.com. That was Jelly Trumpet, making you more creative with Jim Kinlock and Mr. B. Sponsored by Conversion Detectives, the creative digital marketing agency.
And now here's We Paint Houses with their song In Another Life.
Space, another time. Know you and you know why. Another dream of another life. Know you and you know why. With another face and another life. Know you and you know why. I know you.
Time to say the thank yous, Mr. Jem. Oh, a question.
Yes, Mr. B?
Are we really keeping Queen Eleanor?
For now, until you work out which button is medieval France.
Okay.
Great. Question for you, Mr. B.
Go on.
Why does Tony always have a box of eggs when he's in the studio?
He worries about foxes. Thank yous now, Mr. Jem.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for all those that encourage Jelly Trumpet. Thank you to Mr. Tony for the voice work. Thank you to Miss Claire, the voice of Queen Eleanor and Mary the Entrepreneur. And thank you, Mr. B and Kel. Stay fab.